who were concerned about the state of the river, decided to start CRA. And their vision and their determination inspires us today. They had the same motivations that we have now. They loved crabbing and swimming and fishing in the river. And they wanted their kids to have that same connection to this river. And without them, we wouldn't be here today to have the advantage of all of the information and the science-based data that tells us about what the stressors are on our river.
Number one, pollution is damaging the Chester River watershed. Okay, that's important to understand. Number two, most of the pollution in the Chester River watershed comes from within the Chester River watershed. And number three, restoration works. So we can have an impact. What we're doing on the land and the water can actually work and have an impact. So this is the state of the Chester. We're going to talk about a little bit in general terms about our organization and the Chester River itself. We're going to go through the report card in a little more detail, and then we're going to go through briefly our Riverkeeper program and our agricultural program. So at Chester River Association, our vision is very simple. This is the reason that we exist. And our vision is a healthy Chester River for our community and future generations. And our mission is to achieve that vision through science-based, okay, science-based. We just don't do stuff willy-nilly. We use science, okay, to inform our actions. So science-based advocacy, restoration, and outreach work. We're founded, as Anna mentioned, 30 years ago in 1986. We have 5 permanent staff members, a great volunteer from the Chesapeake Conservation Corps here tonight, Noah Harris. We've got over 1,000 members, over 100 volunteers, many of which are standing earlier, and we believe one watershed worth saving. And again, all of us are part of the Chester River Association. So my AP Environmental Science teacher also told me that, or also had on the last page of every single exam I took for him, was a picture. And it said underneath, a picture's worth 1,000 words. I write 1,000 words about this picture. So rather than me sit here and talk about our watershed, I'm going to show you. And I should mention, a lot of these aerial shots are by Tyler Campbell, one of our founders. So we're lucky to have him. I'm still going to talk. I said I wasn't going to talk. I'm still going to talk. Tons of ospreys this year. It seems like there are more than normal. And this is Rosin Creek on a cool fall morning. And unfortunately, this is actually taken from my house. And this happens to be the dock where these little guys are fishing, right? Great life. But there's a problem, because that's Rosin Creek in the fall, and this is Rosin Creek in the middle of summer. Anyone know what that is? Algae, yes, that's Hydrodiction reticulatum, also known as water net. So this stuff's bad. It's caused by nutrient pollution. Okay, so just like fertilizer and nutrients help your grass grow, help things grow, they make algae grow too. That's what causes that. And it's kind of, the only good thing about it is that my kids pick it up out of the river and they'll use it as mermaid hair, and it hangs off their head. I'm not kidding. So now let's talk a little bit about science. Okay, like these little biologists here with their little turtle. Those are also my kids. I'm clearly not using my kids for propaganda. No issue. So this is the water cycle. So you guys might have seen this a long time ago, but basically the concept is that water evaporates out of the ocean through our water bodies, condenses, turns into clouds, and eventually precipitates out as rainfall or snow or whatever, comes over the land, washes off the land, and then into our rivers and creeks and streams, and then back out to the ocean, repeat, okay? So this is what they teach you in school. But what I believe is that this is actually the water cycle, okay? So we have all this stuff, all this human influence stuff going on. We've got agricultural runoff, we've got residential runoff, septic systems, urban runoff, not so much here, but in other places urban runoff. And what that does is creates all these excess nutrients, nitrogen and phosphorus, that create algae blooms. The algae dies off, creates an oxygen dead zone, starves the water of oxygen, okay? So this is just kind of basic science stuff. It also clouds out the water, so that the submerged aquatic vegetation, all that kind of stuff can't grow, which takes the whole ecosystem out of balance. So what is a watershed, okay? A watershed, in its simplest form, is an area that drains to a particular point, including all land, creeks, streams, and rivers. So the important part about this is it includes the land. So we're here to give a grade to the Chester River, okay? But that's really not fair, because however the Chester River's doing isn't the Chester River's fault. It's what we're doing on the land when we're putting into the river that's making an impact about the grade of the river. So keep that in mind. So what we do on the land is what's impacting stuff. So here's our watershed. It's 250,000 acres, okay? It's a big watershed, beautiful watershed. 690 square miles. We've got 60 miles of the main stem tidal Chester River. And we've got 304 miles of creeks and streams. And also, our watershed is 65% agriculture. That's pretty obvious. You drive around and see a lot of farms, okay? So, farms are the dominant land use in our area. So we monitor all this stuff, right? We monitor our watershed, and we monitor 58 different sites for these parameters. So temperature, pH, dissolved oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus, those are your nutrients, turbidity and clarity, algae, and bacteria. So we do that as an organization. And we have three main components to our water quality monitoring program. We've got our non-tidal, which is our Chester volunteers. You're going to be hearing a little bit more about them later. And then we've got our tidal monitoring program, which is led by the staff and the Riverkeeper boat. And then we've got a bacteria monitoring, which we're just starting this year in May. And these are all our sites. So here's our watershed. Every triangle or every dot represents one of our 58 sites we're monitoring. So you can see from Queenstown all the way up to Millington, we're trying to get a best scientific understanding that we can get of our watershed. This is the cover of our 2015 Chester River report card. You guys ready to hear the grade? Yeah? Okay. So the grade is under here, if you're wondering what this little pink turtle is about. So the lesson I learned earlier was, when you ask your wife to put out a sheet for you, you should tell her what it's for. Because I didn't tell her it was to mail the report card, so we got pink turtles. But that's fine. So it's a C+. Now, you may not believe this, but I made this myself. And I can tell you one thing that should give you a little bit of comfort, is that I'm a better scientist than a carpenter. And I'll go through, these are the actual grades here, and I just want to explain a little bit about, briefly, how we calculate the grade. So we use what's called the WQI, or Water Quality Index, and that's this thing that was developed by these guys, NTAC and EPA and all that kind of stuff. And basically what we do is that we collect all these water quality parameters, and then they're compared to biotic thresholds, okay? And then it's scored from 0 to 100, so 0 being bad, 100 being very good. Okay, so here, tidal Chester and non-tidal Chester. So everyone get tidal Chester versus non-tidal? Do we know what we're talking about there? Because that sometimes confuses people. Tidal Chester is the main stem of the river and the major tributaries. If there's a tide, right, that's considered tidal Chester. Non-tidal is the flowing creeks and streams. Okay, the flowing creeks and streams that go, then they meet the tidal river. And we score those separately because they have different ecology and different biotic thresholds. So, dissolved oxygen, doing okay, 85, 70. These are also color-coded for your convenience. So if you're a visual person, just look at the color, okay? Green, good, yellow, okay, orange or red, not so good, right? Nutrients, this is where we start not doing so hot. So nitrogen and phosphorus, okay? We have a lot of nutrients in both the tidal and non-tidal river. Clarity, not so good in the tidal Chester, okay? And that really depends on where you are. So, you can be in Chestertown or upriver, and it can be pretty cloudy. You go down to Cliff City, Common Spite, one of those areas, be pretty clear. So that varies a lot within the river. And then, of course, algae. So the tidal Chester got a C, non-tidal got a C+. Again, here are the grades. 80 to 100 is considered an A, excellent. 60 to 79 is a B, good. 40 to 59 is C, or considered at risk. So we're kind of at the border of at risk. We're trending the right way, but we're at risk. 20 to 39 would be degraded, and 0 to 19 would be an F, which would be considered severely degraded. So the important thing to think here, though, is that the individual scores of these parameters, when you're looking at this report card, are as important as the final grade. Because it's kind of like if it's a real report card, you could be a C student, but maybe you're getting an A+ in math, but you're failing something else, okay? So you really want to look at these individual numbers, and Rosin Creek is a great example, because Rosin Creek does great, okay, scoring everywhere except for nitrate pollution. It has a very, very strong nitrate pollution problem, and that creates that algae bloom. So you look at the thing and, oh, it gets a B, it's doing great. No, you got to look at the details and see what's really going on there. So one source of pollution can really impact a creek or stream. So in the report card, we have all of our sites mapped. I'm not going to go through them, but you can look, and you can look at all of our different sites, all of our different grades. The same schematic here will be available for all the sites that we monitor. And if you have any questions about it, you can contact us at any time, okay? And we're happy to answer any questions you have. So, the 2015 report card major conclusions. You've seen these before, right? So we started with this. Pollution is damaging the Chester River watershed. Most of the pollution in the Chester River comes from within our watershed and restoration works. So let's not take my word for that. Let's actually look at these conclusions and look at some of the science-based data. So pollution is damaging the Chester River watershed. Okay. So it is impaired, the Chester River is impaired, and this is based on our own data and EPA's data on their 303D list. For total suspended solids, which is also considered sediment pollution, nitrogen and phosphorus pollution, those are your nutrients again, and bacteria pollution. So, what's going on with that? You get this nutrient pollution, which creates algae growth. So just like when you apply nutrients or fertilizer to your lawn, it gets in the river, it makes the algae grow, just like it makes your grass grow. Okay? Algae decomposes, starts the water with oxygen, which creates a dead zone. Most of us have probably heard the term dead zone. Algae sediment pollution, cloud the water, okay, they block out the sunlight, preventing water grasses from growing, interrupts the food chain, and creates a difficult environment for little critters to thrive. So this is not a good situation. And that's what's happening in our river right now. So the primary pollution sources in our watershed are poorly managed farms and outdated farm practices. So notice I didn't say farms, right? I said poorly managed farms and outdated farm practices. And Paul Stee is our agricultural specialist, is going to talk about that in more detail. I don't want to steal his thunder, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay? Legacy pollution. So we have pollution in our watershed coming from groundwater and sediments that were deposited years and years ago. And USGS did a study, and they said that some of our pollution coming from the groundwater is from what was applied to land 10, 20, 30 years ago. So even if we stop polluting, stop applying nutrients or any fertilizer whatsoever, it's going to take 10, 20, 30 years for that groundwater source to clean up and come out. Failing septic system and yard fertilizer. So what we don't have is, like over in Baltimore, they've got huge combined sewer overflows of millions of gallons. We don't have that. We don't have a lot of industrial inputs and things like that. So we're fortunate in that manner. And something we always ask, is the Chester River safe for swimming? So again, when we're talking about it safe for swimming, in our watershed, we're primarily talking about bacteria. Okay, so the nutrients and nitrogen, phosphorus, sediment, all that stuff isn't really going to be a contact hazard. We don't have PCBs, we don't have a lot of that stuff in our river. So, is the Chester River safe for swimming? Pretty much. I mean, for the most part, right? It's as safe as anything. It's kind of like the way I've explained before is driving on Interstate 95 safe. I mean, yeah, but you never know. I mean, you can get an infection. There is bacteria in our watershed. But if you follow these rules, then you should have you should be reasonably safe. So, don't swim within 24 to 48 hours of a major rain event. And this is not just what we're saying. DNR will tell you the same thing, MDE, all the watershed organizations will tell you the same thing. Don't swim with open cuts or wounds. Do take a shower after you've been in the river. Do check our new Riverwatch site for our latest bacteria sampling results to see where there might be bacteria hotspots. And whatever you do, my kids don't follow this, don't drink the water. Not out of the river. These guys apparently think that it's safe to swim. This is their boss Wharf at our Swim for Life. So, conclusion number 2, most of the pollution in the Chester River comes from within our watershed. We know from our monitoring that the Chester River does not mix well with the Chesapeake Bay, and most pollution in the middle and upper Chester comes from within our own watershed. So this isn't exactly right, but one way to think about this is if you were at the end of High Street here, and you put a message in a bottle and you threw it in the river, right? First of all, you're going to get a call from the river keeper for littering, and she's not going to like that. But if you get past that, everyone thinks, okay, well the tide's going to just wipe out all the pollution, and then fresh bay water is going to come back in. That doesn't happen. The bottle you threw in might make it to Ross Wharf on the outgoing tide, and then it's going to slosh back, almost back to Chestertown in the incoming tide. So it's going to take several weeks, probably, for it to get to Sandy Point or outside, okay? So that water has a very slow exchange between the upper reach of the Chester and the Chesapeake Bay itself. So if most of the pollution within our watershed is coming from within our watershed, the thing that you can infer from that is that most of the pollution in the Chester River is not coming from other sources. So it's not coming from Baltimore when they have a big sewage overflow. That's their problem, and that is a big problem, and it's something that needs to be addressed, but it's not impacting in a major way the Chester River itself. So it's really like we've got to clean up our own problem, they've got to clean up their problem. We all need to do it to have a whole healthy Chesapeake Bay ecosystem. So let's look at some of the data. These are 3 of our stations here. We have CH1, this is down near Eastern Neck Island, off the mouth of Grazing Creek and Reed Creek here. CO2, which is in the middle of the Corsica River by the Corsica River Yacht Club, and CO3 here, which is the harbor, Central Harbor. And let's look what the data tells us. So this is nitrogen pollution, and this here is mouth of the Chester River, this is in the middle of the Corsica, and this is in the upper Corsica. Okay, so you can see as you move from the main stem of the river up into the tributaries, we're going from 0.6 milligrams per liter to almost 1 to 1.6. Which is 2.5 times as much nitrogen pollution. And this is based on a year's worth of scientific analysis and scientific data. Phosphorus pollution, same thing. So there's 3 times as much in the middle Corsica, and by the time you get to the upper Corsica, there's almost 4 times as much phosphorus pollution. Now, you guys think, but Tim, you just told us all this nitrogen and phosphorus creates algae blooms. So what do you think the algae curve looks like? Like that. So, not a lot of algae in the down by Eastern Neck. Middle Corsica, fair amount of algae. Upper Corsica, a lot of algae. Okay? Pretty basic, pretty common stuff. So that's kind of the type of data that we're using to come to this conclusion that what we're doing on the land, if it's happening in the upper reaches, is coming from our own actions. Okay? And that's the same case for Grazing Creek, East Fork of Langford Bay, West Fork of Langford Bay, Southeast Creek. And for the main stem of the river itself. So these are all of our monitoring sites along the main stem of the river, from Trumpton here down to the mouth of the Chester. And here's the nitrogen curve. So this is downriver, Chestertown's about here, and here's Trumpton up here. Can't quite jump that high. So you can see that the further you move up the river, the more nitrogen pollution that you have. Same thing with phosphorus. The further you move upriver, the more phosphorus pollution you have. This is data from 2015, but if you look at data from 2014, look at data from any other year, you're going to find the exact same thing. Now this is water clarity. This is different. So here, higher is good. So downriver, near Eastern Neck Island, the average water clarity is 40 inches. In Chestertown, it's about 25 inches. By the time you get to Trumpton, it's less than 15 inches. That means you can only see down 15 inches in the water. That's it. If you waded in 15 inches, you couldn't see your feet anymore. So the further upriver you get, the more sediment pollution, and the muddier the water's going to get. So conclusion number 3, got 3 fingers, restoration works. So this is science-based evidence that supports this, that restoration works. So the Corsica River, Town of Centerville, Queen Anne's County, our friends at the Corsica River Conservancy, other groups, put in hundreds of rain gardens in the Corsica River. They've done some stream restoration, some dam removal, and Corsica Creeks used to be one of our worst. Okay, just last year, or a few years ago, they got a C. They've increased to a B. Okay, this is evidence based on year-long testing that their watershed is improving, so restoration works. Radcliffe Creek, okay, Town of Chestertown has put in these great step pools. Okay, our monitoring data showed that they used to be a D before they put in the step pools. Since they've done that, it's a C-. And these are only capturing a small amount of the watershed, but it's still made an impact. It still improved the water quality of Radcliffe Creek. Riley's Mill Creek. So in Riley's Mill, Wharton Park, Kent County High School, that drains into Riley's Mill. So we planted 10,000 trees there, shrubs and wildflowers, and that creek has gone from a C+ to a B-. So restoration works. Okay, this is evidence that where we put in restoration projects, the water quality has improved. So what we do on the land can make a difference. And long term, okay, the Chester River is showing slow but steady improvement.